lies, the dusty lies, and in the fire's clawing incinerate, they burn them all. And in the bird's eye view, the fire split, the fires grew, and we walk blind
Hello and welcome to Totally Tell Me, a weekly entertainment review podcast where we talk about movies, music, food, and fun. Laura pulling in just in time. My name... Go ahead. Oh.
Nothing.
My name's Dominic Mercurio, and I'm here with Laura Weinbach.
Hello, and live from my boat. My bed boat. No, this is not a bed, but somebody said it looked like a bed today, Emily.
It's true, yes. I was trying to figure out what it looked like.
In case anyone out there is wondering, it's not a bed, but you know what? For tonight, it can be. Welcome to my lair.
And our very special guest today is Emily Jane White. Hello, Emily.
Hey.
How's
Thanks
it going?
for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome
to have you.
Yeah, welcome to Laura's abode. Mine is just sort of as per usual. There's really nothing of note, but oh, you have a teacup too. Okay, wow. So I guess I really missed the memo on this one.
I always have a teacup. It's something I always have every single show. It's not special.
Emily Jane White, if you don't know her, she is a singer-songwriter, and her new album, Imminent Fire, came out earlier this year.
Very good album. Amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Co-produced by Anton, correct? You and Anton? Or how was the production?
Yeah.
Anton Patson.
Anton and I worked on it together. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Anton produced and arranged it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to check that out, you were just hearing one song off of that album. But if you want to check that out, it's available on all music streaming and purchasing platforms. And if you don't know, if this is the first time watching Totally Tell Me, we're a live stream show. We go live every 2 Sundays at 7 p.m. And we are live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook right now. If you're listening later on podcast services, you can always tune in again the next time that we go live, which will be in, again, 2 weeks, December 6th at 7 p.m. If you are watching live, though, right now, feel free to comment, and we will see your comments. We'll read them as deemed necessary by any one of us, really. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much that's the gist of things. But really, what we're here to talk about at some point is Picnic at Hanging Rock. In case you're wondering why we're all dressed up for the part. I got the memo very late. I'll just say I was going to wear a dress, but unfortunately, this is all I was able to throw together for tonight. But the others have worn some appropriate attire for the occasion. Picnic at Hanging Rock is a 1975 film by Peter Weir. It takes place in 1900. And we're going to be talking about that in the second half of the episode. But the first half of the episode, we're just going to be chit-chatting and catching up, of which I'm very excited to do because I haven't talked with Emily since before I think this pandemic even began. So it's been quite some time.
Was the last time you guys saw each other at my house?
I think so.
Wow.
I think when I came for the video premiere.
And you're seeing each other at my house once again.
Yet again.
Hanging out.
Many, all events take place in Laura's
lounge.
house. No. Yeah, your hookah lounge, your king-size bed. Water bed. It's really unclear what it is, to be honest.
All right, people, just to give you a little briefing, this is a set that was created for a different video a couple weeks ago. And this is a cropped image, what you're seeing. It's beyond the edges of the screen. It's not as cool. But if you want to get a sneak peek, just since you're tuned in, the few of you that are tuned in, here's what it really looks like.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there's the X. Nope, no more.
Oh, my God. Cancel everything. Cancel the show. Let's go off the air.
Oh my God. Get away from that.
You know what's funny, though, Laura, is like your house already kind of has this vibe.
Oh, my God. Nope. It already has what?
It already kind of has this vibe somewhat. So, I mean, even you panning away doesn't really make too much of a difference.
To a degree, but it's, yeah. No, I mean, true. I want to make this real, as I was telling you guys earlier. I'm going to take steps towards achieving such a goal as that. This is step number 1.
Emily, I want to start. I would like to start with you, though. Emily, how has how has this year been? How has the last few months been? How has everything been going for you?
Everything's been pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've like I said, we moved apartments, so that kind of ate up the last couple months.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, everything's been good. Like I said, I went and visited my parents up in Mendocino for a while, kind of a long little stint up there,
Hmm.
and that was wonderful. And I've been doing a lot of writing, music writing, so that's been good.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome.
Trying to stay
Wonderful.
focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes kind of hard to do, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of distractions, a lot of big changes afoot in all of our
Yes.
lives, big and small. But yeah, let's see. I have down here in your topics. So you were talking about cooking. What have you been cooking?
Well, I
What's your
think
favorite
my
thing to cook?
question was, how has your cooking progressed during the pandemic?
Hmm.
Well, I just thought back to this time that I took a photo of these scones and this pie I made, and I texted it to Laura,
Uh-huh.
and then I burnt the edges of the pie, and Laura was like, "Just so you know, like if you don't want to burn the edges of the pie, you can put tin foil over the sides."
Right.
So I
Did
learned
you
that.
try that?
I did try it, and it
Did
worked.
it work? It
Yes.
worked? Wow. Amazing.
What was the pie? What was the flavor of the pie?
It was a peach pie.
Ooh,
Peach
yum.
pie.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Was that
And
like
was it a
s-
gluten-free crust?
So it was gluten free and it was grain free. It was made with almond flour and coconut oil.
Mm.
Yeah. So you know, you can make a pie that is grain free entirely and sugar free, and it tastes great.
Wow. Did
Who would
you
have thought?
wait, how did you what did you use? Wait, let me ask you this. Do you not eat dairy as well? I forget.
Very, very minimally.
So no butter, I take it, obviously. That was
I can have butter. That's
Oh.
probably yeah.
So what made you decide to go with coconut oil instead of butter?
I guess because I had experimented with it before, the
Mm.
coconut oil aspect, and it works fine.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it doesn't stick together like a regular pie crust.
It's
Mhm.
more like kind of crumbly.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but it still tastes fine.
Sure. And then now, how did you go about doing the filling? It's peaches and what else?
Peaches, vanilla extract,
Mhm.
and just like you can use like pumpkin spice, or you can use cinnamon spice, cinnamon, and that's it.
Mm.
So you
Really?
can add a little bit of tapioca flour if you want,
Uh-huh.
because a
I was
thickener.
wondering. I was wondering about a thickening agent if that was something you.
You can. Yeah, you can use like tapioca flour or arrowroot flour if you want to stick with the
Mm,
grain-free.
Love an arrowroot flour. I do. I've used the stuff for various things before, such
I've never
as
heard of it.
household spells and things.
Spells. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
of course.
Arrowroot flour. It comes into the old spell books every once in a blue corn moon.
Emily, do you feel like you've been cooking different things more often in these COVID times, or has it progressed in the opposite direction? Like you're cooking just the same stuff or something, or yeah.
Well, I've definitely cooked more,
Mhm.
and I didn't have as much time to cook before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I've been, experimenting with different recipes and things.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I feel that.
if it wasn't for this pandemic, you'd be on tour right now, wouldn't you? Or did I
Yeah.
say that?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have gone on multiple tours in the last
Wow.
9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is it
Oh.
still planned for a later time, or is it just kind of TBD? And
currently, I have a couple of shows on the horizon in France, actually, in
Mm.
February, March, but probably won't really know what that's going to be like.
Sure. Yeah, they're on
maybe
the books,
ever.
but yeah, yeah.
But,
Well, I
but
think
anyway, it's out there. It's sort of like dangling in the future, and then we'll see.
yeah,
Um,
totally. Yeah, it's really hard to get a sense of how much longer we're going to be in a sort of a lockdown state as opposed to being able to actually. Well, and then beyond that, I feel like shows are even further out from that, just because the idea of, even as someone who loves going to shows, the idea of being in a crowded room with a couple hundred people is it's not my favorite thing to think about in the current days.
No, and I was curious. Sorry, Laura. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, I was gonna. Oh, what were you gonna say? No, you go.
Well, I was just I mean, obviously, none of us have any idea about any kind of vaccination process. And then how do you certify that all these people who thus then entered into a show were all vaccinated? I mean, I don't even know. I can't even wrap my head around that. So I'm sure there's like major pieces of information I'm not aware of.
Totally.
They'll probably have to go on like statistics of, cases that are being, confirmed of people who are getting coronavirus. Like they say that there's going to be a vaccine coming out in April. But then, of course, there's the challenge of how do you get people to take it and who's going to take it. And but I think the proof will be in, how many more cases of COVID are coming out. You know what I mean? Like, will there be a downtick, in.
And plus, I think healthy people are probably going to be bottom of the list for who gets the vaccination first. You know what I mean? I'm sure it'll be rolled out to us far later. But anyways, outside of all that depressing news, I wanted to also hear about what you've been watching, Emily. Has there been any of note films that you've seen recently?
So I recently watched. There's two things I think I put on the little list there.
Yeah.
The movie The Bear. Have you seen it?
No.
The Bear. It's a 1988 French film that takes place in British Columbia, and it follows an orphan bear cub. It's
That sounds adorable.
Let's just say it's like a beautiful nature film, and there are a couple like bear hunters in it, so there's some suspense and that kind of thing, but it's actually a very touching story. And the bear cub essentially gloms onto this older grizzly bear and ends up following him around, and it's all real footage of real bears.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Because I was imagining it animated, but that's cool.
No,
I could imagine it being. Yeah, I guess I assumed it was real animals in the film, but
it is.
Maybe there was any true story behind it or not, or is it based on truth or no?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
But they speak English in the film.
The bears speak English.
They train the bears.
The bear hunters speak English, but there's not a ton of dialogue. But it's also really cool because it's like very scenic and there's tons of wildlife. But there are some parts that are sort of fictitious and imaginative where they go into like the bear cub's dreams.
Wow.
And it was done in 1988, so it has this very kind of old school feel, but it's quite well done. And when you think about it, getting the scenes that they wanted to with the bears must have taken forever.
Oh yeah.
How did you know? What compelled you to watch this film?
Nick.
How did he know? Was it a movie that he had known about for a while, or did he just?
He'd seen it before.
Oh, okay.
So he was like, "You should watch that. It's really good. You would really like it." So
cool.
It sounds like it's got like a Planet Earth vibe, which I'm always down. I love just like watching anything with just live action animals just doing their thing, and so does it kind of mix? They're kind of implanting a story upon this footage that they found of bears, right? I assume, or are they trained in actually like doing
the
certain
bears
actions?
are actually trained. I mean, I don't know how the bear cub. I don't know how they worked with the bear cub.
Right? Yeah, that seems
obviously
tough.
They probably had its mother there and everything. But the grizzly bears that are in it, they must have in captivity or have trained somehow. I'm not sure actually. I should read up more on it. Yesterday I briefly looked over the synopsis of the film again.
Yeah.
But it's a French film.
Cool.
Cool.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
Sounds
it's
good
cool.
to
It's
me.
worth checking out.
Yeah. Laura, what have you been watching lately?
Well, since we last spoke, I didn't watch this movie between now and then, but I didn't get a chance to mention it on the last one, which was My Truth, The Rape of Two Corys.
Wait, what?
Pretty hardcore to a degree. I actually, yes, I watched it. What?
Okay, let's get some context.
I have to apologize because it's not funny
It's
at
not
all.
funny.
No.
I know. It's not.
It's quite the bomb that you dropped upon this live stream.
I just didn't expect you. Excuse me. I didn't expect that to come out of your mouth?
Then. It's shocking.
Well, it came out in March, guys. Okay, it's like a pretty new movie, but Corey Feldman was trying to. Yeah, wait, okay. What did you think I was talking about? Or did you? What did that sound like? When
I was so startled by the title that I just the fact that the Corey and the two. I now get it, but
so you didn't context. Know? Oh, you didn't know who I meant when I said the two Coreys.
Yeah, originally.
I think most people wouldn't. I don't know who you're talking about with the other Corey though.
Well, when people say the two Coreys, I know what that means. I mean, I just
Corey Haim I've grown up. Corey Feldman, right?
Yeah, like I've grown up hearing that term a lot. The two Coreys, you know what I mean? Like that was just kind of a thing. I mean, they became like an item. It was like first it was Corey Feldman, and then Corey Haim became they became like. They became best friends, and but Corey Feldman was kind of like in the spotlight before Corey Haim was. But then I think it was during Lost Boys, that was the first movie that they had done together, and then it became like a whole phenomenon. Like everybody was going crazy for the two Coreys, and like people just loved them together.
So what's the premise of the film?
Well, it's a documentary that was financed by, I guess, and produced by Corey Feldman, and like he's been saying for many years, probably decades, that like there's just a big, horrible, phenomenon in Hollywood there's a major problem with regard to like pedophilia, and how it's something that happens a lot, especially, obviously to young children actors, that just gets tucked under the rug, and like people don't want to deal with it because for a lot of various reasons, whether it's, shame upon the people who are perpetrating it, or financial reasons, or reasons of like having to go through extra legal steps to maintain security for kids on sets of films. And so it was just not something that a lot of people wanted to deal with for a long time. And so Corey Feldman, in his words, like, he got basically, like, I guess, is the term gaslighting appropriate here? Like, called crazy for saying his truth or whatever. And, like, nobody believed him. And granted, I mean, he was, like, on a lot of drugs at various points in his life. And so it looked like he didn't have a lot of validity to things that he would say because of maybe the way that he was presenting his truths or whatever. But I have to say, like, after watching, I go into these weird phases every, I don't know, couple years where I go on a rabbit hole, like for certain celebrities from my past that like were influential to me in certain ways. Like the Coreys had an influence on me growing up. I watched all their movies, I mean, I was like really into a lot of the movies that Corey Feldman was in, and I really liked, like, License to Drive was one of my favorite movies growing up, and it was a revisit to that movie that kind of sparked my recent obsession. And so I started watching all these interviews, and I was like, and then I discovered that Corey Feldman was had come out with this movie in March that he was like trying really hard to get made, and people did not want him to come out with it because he was going to reveal a hardcore name, finally, of one of the people that raped Corey Haim, his best friend. And so I don't know if you guys knew this, but the two of them had a reality show like in the 2000s or whenever. And it kind of came out on the reality show that they had experienced like sexual molestation or whatever when they were younger. Or Corey Haim like says that in one of the scenes in the show, and it was like a big controversy, and all these people were like talking about like who is it, and Corey Feldman never wanted to name names because he was like being intimidated by people and was really scared to come out about who was the perpetrators of these crimes. And so anyway, people speculate that he's like, sensationalizing because why didn't he say these names before, and why is he waiting to say it in this movie? Like he's just trying to make money, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what his direct response to that accusation is, but I have to say, like, I really do believe him, I guess, after watching all these different interviews and sort of like hearing him speak in different contexts, and his story always remains pretty consistent, and like just he seems like he's telling the truth. That's all I can say. I don't know people. I mean, I guess people can be really convincing liars, but I don't think that. I don't know. I don't really know
So does he
why
say
he would.
does he
He
name
says
names?
yes,
Or
yes,
does he keep
and
the mystery going? Okay.
oh, he names a name that's pretty hardcore because. So I also watched this movie Lucas that I actually didn't watch when I was growing up, and it's a movie that stars Corey Haim. So Corey Haim is dead now. I don't know if you guys know that.
Didn't
Corey
know
Haim died like in like 2000. He was only 38, I think, or 37, and he had a lot of drug problems, and their lives were like really fucked up from an early age. They were, given drugs, and they were allowed to go to crazy like unsupervised situations as young teens, and were I mean, it's pretty much confirmed that they were both like molested by different people, but nobody knew about other people that had been involved. That apparently Corey Haim was like molested by multiple people, and so was Corey Feldman. And one of the people that molested them was molesting both of them. It's not funny, but I mean, it happened. And so it's like, I mean, it's just crazy. And anyway, the whole movie is very interesting, but the main name that he reveals as the first person who raped Corey Haim is actually pretty startling, because it was one of the people that was in the movie Lucas that I had just watched, not knowing. And I was watching these movies just as a fun like kickback thing. During Halloween I like to watch 80s movies, and I was like, I'm going to watch all my favorite 80s movies in October. And so one of them, and then I also wanted to watch movies that I hadn't seen, like Lucas. And I watched that movie and I really liked it. And it was like one of Corey Haim's first movies. He's like a young kid actor in it. He's really good in it. And Charlie Sheen is in it, and the girl from Goonies, who's like one of the girls from Goonies, is in it. And it's a fun movie, an interesting movie, and I liked it. And then it turns out when I watched The Rape of Two Corys that, I know I'm spending too much time on this, but the name that Corey Feldman reveals as the first person to have raped Corey Haim was Charlie Sheen. And it was just kind of crazy because, like, I mean,
This came out this year?
It came out in March, the movie. But when they tried to show it, during his premiere, like, I guess hackers like prevented it from airing on the air.
I remember that.
And so he was like, the hackers are like stopping it from happening. And he actually did sound it sounded almost like fake the way he was like, the hackers. As if like there's one set of hackers. I don't know. Instead of being like hackers are trying to get, not this to not. I don't know why, but something about the way he said it seemed kind of like, I don't know, weird. But then it ended up showing. I mean, now anybody can watch it. You have to pay to watch it. But like, it's interesting. It's very interesting. But he basically made the movie. He says in the movie he made it in honor of Corey Haim, who he like made a promise to share his story if he ever passed away, because apparently they had a conversation like not long before Corey Haim died where he was like, listen, if I don't make it, for another year, you have to promise to like tell the world what happened to me. And Corey Feldman was like, I don't want, you're going to tell them and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, just if. And, he said that he like promised him that he would. And so, I don't know. He said that this was for him. And they were, really best friends. And yeah, it was just intense. But very interesting.
Yeah. Crazy.
And then, I don't know. It was just interesting because okay, the main reason why did I bring up Lucas and Charlie Sheen? Well, I had just watched that movie Lucas, having enjoyed Charlie Sheen's performance in this movie Lucas, and like their dynamic, because he's like plays this kind of not older brother, but he's like the popular, attractive, nice guy in the movie, and he's like a kind soul to Corey Haim. But then Corey Feldman talks about how like, the actual rape was really brutal. Like that he raped him on the set, like in between two trailers, just out in the open. And he like says some pretty graphic stuff, and that kind of sparked a whole like just downward spiral for Corey Haim, where he became like hypersexualized basically, and like became obsessed with sex and like did all kinds of crazy stuff. Interesting, but dark. Anyway, so that's what I watched fairly recently, and then I watched The Crown. Yeah, I watched all of The Crown season 4. Very good show, I think. I recommend it.
Oh,
What about
right,
you?
yeah.
On Netflix about the Queen of England.
Oh, that's on Netflix? I thought it was on HBO or something.
It's a
I guess
Netflix original.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, as they say, dark times. But what about you? What have you been watching?
Yeah.
I watched this show that I kind of briefly told you about, Laura, but I definitely haven't told you, Emily, on HBO called We Are Who We Are by Luca Guadagnino,
Mhm.
who
Oh,
is...
yes. I watched the first episode of that, by the way.
Oh, well, we'll talk in just a second.
Yes, we will. Go
But
ahead.
Luca Guadagnino, if you don't know, he directed Suspiria most recently, and probably more notably Call Me By Your Name, which, of course, went on to win Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars that year. And, of course, we... Totally Tell Me. We reviewed that and absolutely loved it. Have you seen that movie, Emily, by chance?
Call Me By My Name.
Yeah,
Call Me By Your Name.
By Your Name. Sorry. Yeah, I have seen it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I saw the you're talking about the remake of Suspiria.
Yes. Yeah,
did
I
you
meant
see
to...
Saw that with you, Laura.
Oh,
Yeah, you and Anton.
Oh my God, that's right. Yes, totally. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, so Luca Guadagnino, to me, he's just totally been on a streak of just really excellent films. This is his first foray into television, and it's a whole season on HBO Go, or I guess HBO Max, they rebranded it. And he directs every single episode. He doesn't write the episodes, but he directs them. And it really does, in my opinion, very much have his touch all over it. And I really love it. I finished it yesterday, and I mean, wow. Just like a high recommendation to anybody who hasn't seen it. Definitely give it a shot. At least just check out the first few episodes or something and see if it's for you. If you liked his other stuff, I can't imagine that you wouldn't love this. It's very similar in many ways. It feels like, if you were to make an 8-hour movie. I wouldn't really want to give away too much of plot or anything like that, but it's a coming-of-age story, and it takes place... It's a modern-day coming-of-age story that takes place in Italy. So in some ways, it certainly harkens back to Calling By Your Name's, just at least with that briefest of setup, but it goes in I would say, a pretty different direction. But, man, I just loved it. And, Laura, I'm curious what you thought of just seeing the first episode, which I feel like... Well, actually, go ahead.
I did not like it. I'm sorry. I
What?
love Guadagnino. I love Call Me By Your Name. I love Suspiria. I liked the Tilda Swinton movie. I forget what it's called now.
A Bigger Splash.
I didn't love that, but I thought it was pretty good. And this one I just felt was really not for me.
Holy shit.
I just couldn't get. I was like, when is it going to be over? It's really. I just thought it was boring, and I was not interested in any of the characters. Sorry.
Holy shit. So you're not even going to keep watching?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. I mean, I would absolutely encourage you to do so. I mean, it
Really? What did you think of the first episode?
I was intrigued, but I didn't love it yet. And then
Oh.
it just gets better and better. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like the main character is someone you takes a lot of warming up to. Actually, we're getting a comment.
Did not like. Oh, go ahead.
We're getting a comment from Nicole Kyle who says, "I think the show gets better after episode 1." And
Okay.
thanks for the recommendation. I'm like, I've watched 3 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, give it a shot. I would give it
All
more
right,
than one episode.
I'll try another one or two. Yeah, I guess I just thought.
I mean, you may as well. It's Luca Guadagnino. I mean, damn.
When you recommended it to me, you didn't warn me. Well, I just thought so because you didn't say like, oh, watch more than one episode because the first one's difficult or something.
I would say that for any show, though.
If you would have said that about this, then I would have like been much more inclined to be like, all right, I'm just gonna get past this. But you were just kind of all about the whole show, and so maybe I just thought we don't agree on this.
I'm about the whole show, as in like if you were to take all 8 episodes and consider that one film, it's incredible.
Uh-huh. But I mean, like, if you would have just thought the first episode was amazing, then I would know that we were intrinsically like just at odds with each other on this particular piece of work. I don't know, but maybe I'll try again. I'll try because again, I love the director. He's one of my favorite current day living directors. So
he's incredible.
I don't know.
Well, okay. Look, I want to just move right along here.
Yeah, let's move along.
Laura, It says hoarders new.
Oh,
What have you
oops.
been hoarding? You've been hoarding or
Oh
what?
no, that was an. I don't have a lot going on in my physical life. I'm just watching a lot of stuff. Mostly
Oh,
shows, and another show I watched was Hoarders. Not really the show. I mean, my brother was like calling me yesterday, being like, "You got to watch these 2 episodes of Hoarders. It's like so hardcore." And
have you seen hoarders, Emily?
I haven't.
Do you
it's
know what it is?
hardcore.
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so intense. Okay, well,
Do you want to
I've
brief what
watched
it
it
is, Laura,
before.
for people who haven't
It's
seen
a
it?
it's a reality show about people who basically hoard stuff in their houses, and they live in just like essentially a dump. I mean, it's like a landfill in their house. It's crazy. I mean, it really is sad because it's like, generally speaking, a symptom of mental illness, you know? Or usually the people who hoard are people who have had some traumatic thing happen to them.
Hmm.
But like their homes are just filled to the brim with stuff.
Hmm.
And this episode was just particularly intense because it was like not just stuff, but it was actual garbage basically. But they weren't like, they had enough money to not have garbage. It was just they just didn't throw any garbage away, and also they had these crazy really thick cobwebs everywhere. It looked like a haunted mansion. But like, like if you had spider webs in a can, that you could spray, that's what it looked like in there. So thick. And then they also just had all these spiders in there, like tons and tons of spiders, and
I
like
need some of
tons.
that for your little den there.
Yeah,
Some spray spider web.
Exactly.
that would be good.
I mean,
A
but it
nice
was
touch.
real though, and
For
it was
sure.
so intense. And also, there were just like a lot of roaches in there. It was just very hardcore. And I mean, it is what it is. My brother and I were like trying to analyze it because, well, we have a family member who's a bit of a hoarder on my dad's side. I mean, I could say it. I don't care. It's fine. We don't really talk to her anymore. It's unfortunate. But yeah, that house became a straight up hoarding house. And it's just, she also does kind of have mental illness, I would have to say. But yeah, it's a thing. People don't want to let go of stuff.
No, they do
Problem.
not.
So yeah, watch that. What else did you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I'll say that I've been looking for a new place, and in fact, I am
Oh, I
moving.
saw that on your thing.
I'm going to be
Wait, so
moving in January, but still in the city. I'm not like.
why are you moving?
Well, I basically it's somewhat of a long story, but to make it a shorter version, one of my other roommates is moving out. I live with 3 other people here. One of my other roommates is moving out, and we've been trying to find someone to fill that spot. And it has just been, it's a total shift in San Francisco right now as far as the renters market. Usually when you put something up, which we've done in the past, like people have moved in and out of this spot through the years that I've lived here. And when we've put it up before, we'll get 50 plus responses in like the first day of putting it up on Craigslist. This time we had an empty room. We put it up for less money than we ever have. And we got 0 responses until like a week later, where we got like one random response that was like not even someone that we would consider for it. And it's just, it is so different. I mean,
that's crazy.
But on the plus side, it's a great time to look for a new spot in San Francisco.
Oh,
and
right.
Yeah.
by us putting up the our apartment, I couldn't help but notice that there were plenty of other apartments out there at pretty reasonable prices, and so I just kind of I took a leap of faith here, and I'll still be pretty close by, but I'll just be living with one other person, but in many other ways, a much nicer spot, bigger room.
Wow.
Which area is it?
It's at the edge of the Mission and Potrero Hill.
Cool.
Oh, you already found the place.
Yeah, I'm moving in January 1st.
Oh, I thought
is
you
my
said you were
moving date.
looking. Okay.
Well, I was looking ever so briefly, and then I found a spot very quickly.
Wait, let me just.
Because there are quite a few.
No, I know, but so you're moving out of your place just because you can't find another person to rent the room, or just you're like, well,
It's more just like that mixed with that I began to realize that
you can
there
get a better
were
place.
better, in a way, better deals. Like where I'm going to be moving to, I will be spending a little more, but I'm going to be getting a whole lot more than what I currently have. You know what I mean? Like
Is there rent control?
I got a backyard now, huge backyard.
Wow.
I have my own bathroom with a tub.
That's big.
Laundry, in-unit laundry. I mean, that's a big one. I'm sick
Your
of going
own
to the
bathroom with a
laundromat.
tub. That's a hardcore
Can you
upgrade.
believe it? I'm gonna have a bubble
You're gonna
bath.
take a
the
bath.
Second I move in, light some candles and let's get this party started. You know,
This
get a bath
Victorian lord
bomb.
will be taking a bath.
I'm gonna set my bathroom just like your little backdrop here. I'm gonna like get some curtains and.
Oh my god, how cool would this be if it was a bathroom?
Yeah, what if you were in the tub, like right there, like that was your
I would
tub?
enjoy that.
You just sipping on your tea at the side table, and
You'd never do anything else. You'd never leave.
you could have your little laptop as on a little side, or those little
I
dinner
would not
table
want a
benches.
laptop to contaminate the atmosphere. No laptops allowed in the bathroom.
I'm just saying that
Yes.
you would never even have to leave. You could like work from the bathtub.
No, I
or
hear
something.
that. But
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, so I'll be sure to let you know how that all goes as the time
yeah.
approaches. But for now, I'm
Congratulations.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right, I think maybe we should actually move to the movie at hand here. Our main topic of the day. Picnic at Hanging Rock, again, 1975
Yay.
film by Peter Weir. Or I should say, actually, just directed by Peter Weir. He didn't write it. It was written, or it was adapted from a 1967 novel of the same name by Joan Lindsay, and this screenplay was written by Cliff Green. It's a Australian mystery film that also stars Rachel Roberts, Dominic Guard, Helen Morse, Vivian Gray, and Jackie Weaver, of which I know exactly 0 of them. Laura or Emily, do you know? Do any of those names? Were they like? Did they have other
Don't forget
notable
Anne
things?
Lambert.
Who?
John Jarrett is also in the movie, and Anne Lambert, who plays Miranda, the main girl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how did I miss that? Okay.
John Jarrett, however, I didn't know this when I originally watched the movie, but when I watched it this time around, I was like, oh my god, that's John Jarrett, who plays the Australian guy who tries to help find the girl, who's like friends with the other boy, who's
The
like
dark hair or
obsessed
the
with-
blonde hair?
the dark-haired one.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
John Jarrett is the star of the horror movie, the Australian horror film Wolf Creek. I don't know if you saw that. Remember?
No way.
He's the old guy in that. Yeah.
He's the old guy in that?
And he
Holy
also was
shit.
in my dad's movie Shiver as
Whoa.
the villain.
I love Wolf Creek, actually. I'm a
Yeah,
big
and John
fan, big
Jarrett is an
fan.
amazing actor. He's a really good actor in Wolf Creek, and he's pretty good in my dad's movie. But yeah, he's like an older man now. But I realized when I'm watching, I was like, oh my god, that's John Jarrett. So that was kind of interesting.
Right.
And yeah, and Anne Lambert plays the younger. She played Miranda, the beautiful Miranda.
Mhm.
Vivian, what's her name?
Gray.
Vivian
Vivian
Gray.
Gray.
What else is she in? I know she's in stuff. I don't know. Keep talking, and I'm gonna look this up because I'm like blanking at the moment, but I
Gotcha.
definitely
What-
know her name. Okay.
Well, if you're watching and you haven't seen the film, we are not going to talk any spoilers at first. We're just going to talk our first impressions. And then after a period of time, we'll make it very clear that we're going to move to spoilers. We'll put a spoiler warning on the screen as well. So feel free to keep on watching even if you have not seen Picnic at Hanging Rock, the 1975 Peter Weir film. But in the meantime, we like to start with our guests here. So Emily, what did you think of Picnic at Hanging Rock? Or actually, would you like to say if you've seen it before or...
I
What's your
had seen it
history?
before.
Okay.
Yeah. It had been a while though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it. It's sort of aesthetically immersive
Mhm.
with, all of the costume, the fact that it's like it's a period piece,
Mhm.
sort of soft focus,
Mhm.
warm tones.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would have to say the thing I really love about it, I really like the soundtrack actually.
Yes.
I love the soundtrack. Oh my
And I
God,
love the
so
way that the
good.
piano is recorded in the piano songs.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That was something I noticed this time around. And then all of the stuff that's just instrumental with the flute. I feel like I've heard that
Yes.
somewhere else.
It's
But-
I it was really bringing to mind something that's in one of Quentin Tarantino's films, and I almost wondered, like, was that a nod to this, or am I just, what was it, like the same flautist or something, or how do you say it when they're
Flautist.
flautist?
A
Okay,
flute
cool.
player.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's the melody really. I think it's Kill Bill, but I'm not sure. But there's something in one of his films.
Gypsy Kings.
What was that?
He uses Gypsy King. It's kind of like South American panpipe music or
I can't remember what it
Peruvian
was, but
panpipe music. It reminds one of that to a degree.
right. Anyways, go
Um,
ahead, Emily.
But yeah, it's beautiful. I love it so much too. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought the soundtrack was really, it was something I noticed more this time around.
Oh, cool.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
So overall, you love it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was something I really appreciated revisiting, and all the costumes and the dialogue is precious and kind of funny at times.
Funny in what way?
just in the sense that it's like all the girls, the women have like very few lines, and they're sort of like, oh.
Like you feel like it kind of shows its age in that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I did watch like a free version streaming on YouTube. So yesterday, I unfortunately didn't get like a crystal clear image. So it was like soft focus gone even more.
Gone through the digital age.
Yeah. But that was really great to watch again.
Nice.
And, I thought, well, I would love to make like an analysis of the film. Like, what is this film really about? If you don't just take the face value narrative and you actually analyze the film.
Sure.
And so I was like, but I just wasn't really in that headspace last night. I was like, I think in order to do a really proper analysis, I'd have to watch it again.
Sure.
Well,
we can.
But anyway, I'm curious what you guys think.
Well, we can try and
I can think about it. Yeah, let's think more and more about it.
You don't have to know right now. A lot of times when we talk about movies on this show, I won't know how I feel about a movie until we start talking about it, and then I start to realize things about the movie as we talk. It just unfolds itself,
And plus, we should save any deep analysis, especially of like too much of the plot stuff, for a little bit later once we kind of get into spoilers and stuff. Right. But Laura, I think we all know, but what do you think of Picnic at Hanging Rock, Laura?
I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I just think it's practically perfect. I mean, I just think it's excellent. I think it's well made, just so well executed. I mean, the directing is so good. It really captures a mood that transcends the screen, and it's just so... I personally love how few words are spoken in this movie. I feel like the words that are spoken are so memorable. And I guess like the first 10 minutes the first 30 minutes of the film, there's things that are said that you're like, wow, that line is just so amazing. And it rings out, I feel like these lines, they become implanted in my mind when I'm watching it. Of course, had seen it before several times, but like, I hadn't seen it in several years. So coming back to the film, like I knew there were certain lines that were going to happen. And then there were other lines that I forgot about that happened. And I was like, wow, this is just so good, But then, and I thought that's going to be like implanted in my memory, And then I remembered that they kind of repeat some of these lines throughout the movie. I mean, they continually try to kind of like ingrain them in your psyche. And so maybe that was why, like, I was holding on to these certain lines in the beginning. But, I mean, I just think it's brilliant, and I love the spaciousness of it and the just ominous tones that it evokes without doing very much, I mean, it's just, like, really a less is more kind of thing, and it's just, this is how I feel like movies should be made. So that's my opinion. Dominic, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a joy to watch. I mean, as far as just the look of it, it's incredible. The aesthetics are great. I feel like it has a really strong vision with just creating a mood and atmosphere for all the characters to exist in. And I was certainly hooked in the beginning as far as the mystery goes, kind of the setup of the film, which I don't even think we really mentioned, but without spoilers, essentially, it's about a group of what 30-ish, or there's like a lot of them, right? I guess that we're not seeing everybody, but a group of schoolgirls in Australia are near this hanging rock.
They go on a picnic for St. Valentine's Day.
Right, and then mysterious things, I suppose, happen at that point. And then the rest of the film is kind of exploring what happened or why it happened, etc. So I mean that hooked me for sure. I felt like it got me interested immediately, but I certainly was losing interest in the second half. I felt like it started to get kind of meandering, and I was just kind of waiting for the next, like, to figure out what was happening, you know? So I felt some frustration, I think, with just the plot, and also I wasn't super attached to the characters. I just mainly liked watching it just because the cinematography was so gorgeous. And I love the music. I know, Emily, you already said that, but I would totally agree that the soundtrack was awesome. And I kind of wished that there was more of it, because they repeat some of the themes pretty often, like maybe a little more often than I would want. As amazing as those themes are, it was almost like, because they were so good, I was just dying to hear a new piece of music. Every time that a new one started, I was just very much into it. I also really like the tones that they use, the kind of less, musical points in the film where it's just these dark, low tones that are going on when they're actually at Hanging Rock. That was cool. I mean, it was weird and yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was into it, but then it started to wane for me. But I'll get into why, I suppose, in a little bit here. But I think it's not. I think it's just less my thing than it is yours, Laura.
Yeah, it's definitely my like aesthetic choice is what style that I like. I gravitate towards that as well. But just I don't know. But for me, the plot really does keep me going. Like I'm attached to all of it. I'm interested in everything about this movie, not just the aesthetic aspect of it, but really just the.
Well,
I don't know. I'm drawn to it. I just find it to be hypnotic, really.
Yeah, there's something about. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The whole thing is like being in a trance.
Yeah, it is, and it's just filled with a certain like wonder and magic, but real eeriness and something very dark too. It's not just in the world of the film, but there's something about the quality of this movie that captures a feeling that is very familiar and very much sort of resonates with, like, for me, my childhood in the 80s. Something about the 80s, that there's a quality to it that's like very eerie. And it reminds me of the 1985 movie Alice in Wonderland. And I remember thinking that when I first saw this. It's a made-for-TV live-action version of Alice in Wonderland that came out in 1985. And something about these films, and there's other films from the 80s, early 80s too, that have this quality that's just like something about the sound quality and the image quality that takes me into this weird feeling. You know what I mean? I'm interested in, because I don't really understand it, even though it's like kind of scary, but also kind of like romantic. And I noticed something this time watching it that really like was interesting to me. One of the props in this movie, and I don't know if this was like a common like piece that was around during the time, but like there's a portrait of a woman, and I didn't recognize it at first, but so there's a portrait of a woman that's in the headmistress's like office or whatever in this movie. And I'm like, I've seen that painting before. And then I realized, oh my God, that painting was also in the main set of Alice in Wonderland in her house, the 1985 made-for-TV movie. And I was like, holy shit, that is freaking weird. And then it shows there's another scene. So there's actually two scenes in Picnic at Hanging Rock that painting appears in. two different set designs. And so they like use this painting twice in this movie, and then it's totally featured in the Alice in Wonderland one. And that picture is so creepy to me. I think it's actually a profile painting of Queen Elizabeth II. And maybe that was like a famous, iconic depiction of Queen Elizabeth. But then I was like looking it up online, and I couldn't find that image of Queen Elizabeth II by just doing a Google search. You know what I mean? So maybe it wasn't as famous as... It's just weird that it's in both of those movies, and it gave me such a weird feeling in the one movie when I was a kid, and then in this movie, which I watched later on in life, you know, and like,
I'm pulling it up on the screen. The image
so
that
I
you had
sent Dominic. Yeah, I sent Dominic.
So
because I took a photo when I saw it in Picnic at Hang Rock. I was like, "Is that the same painting that's in Alice in Wonderland?" I took a picture, and then I looked it up online. I was like, "It is the same one," and it's so weird.
Is it the one of this? Yeah, I'm showing it.
Oh, Emily can't see it right now, but so the picture that's hanging on the wall, yes, that's the one. And notice that it's in a square frame, but then within the square frame is an oval, like circular frame, a circular like mounting, right? Now look at the other picture.
All right, well, let me fix this so it actually shows. There we go.
I think it's... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking...
You're a bit delayed, but yeah,
20 seconds behind.
But people see it, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the same. I like that
Isn't that weird?
I like that this is just a picture of you. You like took a picture of the screen of the TV.
Well, yeah. I didn't want to lose it. I was like, I don't know how else I'm going to find this.
This is a little peek inside Laura's house, is what you're seeing right now.
But isn't that so weird? It's also in an oval-shaped thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was weird. Like, why is it in both of these movies? You know, I don't know.
By the way, as you were talking, Jared L. Floyd commented that you described it the way that I would describe Lawrence of Arabia, which I actually haven't seen. Have either of you seen that film?
You know, I haven't, and I've been meaning to watch it for a long time. But it's just, I know it's a long commitment, so I keep putting it off, but I want to.
Yeah, all right. Well, I think we should probably get to... Actually, wait, I had one other quick thing. Another mystery that I was actually very curious about. Like, how does the head mistress woman... Like, what's with the bump it?
What's with her hair?
Yeah, can you explain, like, the hair? I was trying to figure out the physics of it the whole movie. It was a mystery that went unsolved.
I was trying to figure that out, too, because you could see the back of it at certain points where, like, you know how she had, like, the two flat bang things that went like a headband around her head? But if you look at the back, it was, like, tucked in.
Yeah, it looked like it went...
It almost looked like
going up?
No, like, if you look at the back of her head, like, the two bang things in the back, they met in the back and then got tucked into some kind of, like, weird envelope.
Oh, to me, it looked like the back...
Or something.
The back was, like, going up. You know, like it was going up into the bulbous...
Part of the back was up, too. I know. But there was, like, a seam also, I think. I don't know. It looked very odd. I couldn't quite figure it out. It was
okay. I mean, how does one even get...
like the rest of the movie.
the hair? How does one get the hair like that? I just didn't... Like, is there something in there that's holding it?
Probably.
Okay.
I would imagine.
It's a straight up wig.
In real life, it's probably a wig.
But also, I feel like I looked at her hair a couple times and I noticed the color changed different times. But maybe it was just like the shot and the lighting was different. I don't know.
It
was definitely the least attractive hairstyle in the whole movie. Like all the other people had pretty good hair, but then her hair was just like trying to be... Well, I think she was supposed to look very severe and kind of, you know, generally unattractive. So it was like 70s does Victorian, obviously. You know,
that's the thing about the film is that it's a 1975 interpretation of 1900.
True, but I felt like the rest of the characters didn't seem too like 70s out. I mean, I guess to a small degree because the hair was like long and parted in the middle. But with Miranda, the main girl, the one who was described as one of Botticelli's angels, I felt like she just had such a timeless look. You know, it really, to me, transcends.
Was she the one with the longer, lighter hair?
She's the blonde one who's like kind of the main. I feel like she's the main girl. And then, by the way, Vivian Grey is the one who plays Sarah, the one who's the orphan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess she's not in anything I've ever seen before, but she reminded me of Jennifer Connelly, kind of. I thought she's a great actress.
Yeah, she does look a little bit like Jennifer Connelly. It's true.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then the French teacher, the woman who plays the French teacher, she looks pretty, like, I think, timeless. I mean, I think true to the times. You know what I mean? Of the film, of the world of the film. Not, she doesn't look to me like a 70s version of Victorian. I don't know. At least I don't think so. But because some of the other characters did, but not her.
Yeah. Do we? Are we good to get into spoilers, or was there anything else that anybody wanted to discuss before we get into that? Into the story?
Yeah. Sure, we can get into spoilers.
Okay, cool. Well, let's call it spoilers then. If you haven't seen Picnic at Hanging Rock and you don't want to know anything about the plot, now would be the time to tune out. But if you don't care, or if you have already seen the film, keep on listening, keep on watching. So with that in mind, let's briefly talk about the plot of this film. So some girls go missing when they go on this picnic to Hanging Rock. 4 girls, and then, 3 young girls, and then one of their teachers, who was, I suppose, one of the supervisors of this trip. They all go missing on...
The woman in red. The woman in the red dress.
Yeah. Who? She was one of their teachers, right? Or who was she? Someone who worked at the school?
I feel like she was kind of the main partner of the principal of the school.
Okay.
So Appleyard.
Right, Mrs. Appleyard.
Mrs. Appleyard is the main principal, and then I feel like she talks about the teacher who ends up going missing as being sort of her most reliable, person, or somebody that she felt that she could always count on. Mm-hmm. And so I wondered if they were basically like business partners, or if she was sort of a teacher underneath her. I mean, I guess she was sort of beneath her in terms of position or rank or whatever, but
sure.
Yeah, she was just, an administrator at the school.
Yeah. So three other young girls, though, go missing, and one of them, another girl beyond those 3, was with them and escapes, and is kind of, she seems to forget. She has forgotten what happened. So you're kind of, that's the central mystery, is what happened to these girls. And as the movie goes on, we kind of we're hearing from different people. There's a couple of guys who kind of, I think, take a large interest in the mystery because they saw them that day, and then they go looking for them. One of them gets kind of wrapped up in this mysterious force of this rock, and I guess he doesn't die, but he kind of like convulses and is like stuck up there, and then is saved by the other guy. Later on, they find one of the missing girls, and she's just kind of coward and seems like she's on her last legs deep in the rock. And then eventually this is the part that I was getting a little confused at, but it seems like the orphan, what was her name?
Sarah,
yeah. Sarah, so the headmaster, well, why don't you fill me in, Laura? What happens with Sarah and the headmaster? Because I just couldn't really follow what was going on there. Like, Sarah she didn't have her tuition or paid or something, or...
Yeah, so Sarah's an orphan, and I don't know whether the headmaster, mistress, was aware of the fact that she actually was an orphan, or thought that she would eventually get paid by one of Sarah's relatives, I guess Sarah's uncle or something, and then she said that he was 6 months behind, and so essentially the headmistress made the decision to send Sarah back to the orphanage and not allow her to continue taking classes at the school. And now Sarah is really upset because not only is she getting thrown out of the school, but she has lost her best friend, I guess, who's Miranda, one of the girls that goes missing. And she deeply misses her brother, Bertie, who I guess she talks about during one scene, and talks about how she had a brother at the orphanage, and that she kept saying his name throughout the movie, from the beginning. She kind of has these weird dreams about him, it seems like, and then we realize that Bertie is her brother, and Bertie is the guy who's played by John Jarrett, we realize by the end of the film. I don't know if you realized that.
No.
So John Jarrett, the guy...
I missed that entirely.
John Jarrett's telling the boy who goes back to the rock, and, he he basically gets cast under the spell of the rock, and he's all kind of injured and stuff.
So he's her brother.
So not him, not the one who gets injured, but John Jarrett, who comes back to find him, the one who's the dark hair guy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it turns out he is the brother of Sarah, because he's telling the other guy about this dream that he had, where he was in a room and there were all these pansies, and he sees his sister, and she's like saying goodbye to him. And it turns out that it was her. And then in that moment, my first thought was, oh, she's dead. She killed herself. And then and she's like visiting him one last time. And I guess it's really interesting because she was the only one in the school of all the students who wasn't allowed to go on the picnic. But had she gone on that picnic, she probably would have gone with Miranda and the other two girls on that walk, because she was like best friends with Miranda. So they probably would have all walked together, and she probably would have disappeared with them. And Birdie, her brother, would have seen her, because they saw the girls. And so it's interesting. Well, yeah, again, I feel like I want to try to understand this movie from a more kind of literary standpoint, or like analysis, because it is really mysterious, and I don't feel like I fully understand it now, even after having seen it many times, or exactly what it's supposed to mean. I feel like there's certainly themes of loss of innocence and, transcending a new, like, cycles of life and things like that. But in a more like deep and specific sense, I don't fully know. But I think just the idea of that loss of innocence theme really resonated with me when I first saw this movie. And like, at first I thought it was the girls going into their womanhood basically and leaving their child selves behind, and there's like all these precursors that are like sort of kind of telling them that, you know what I mean, in the beginning. And somehow, but the fact that like Miranda knows, you know what I mean, she's like, I won't be here much longer. And that I don't know, that they have these like that one of them comes back and her hands are damaged and her face is damaged, but she has no damage to the rest of them. And they keep emphasizing the fact that she's intact, meaning she wasn't raped. And the other girl who goes with them, who doesn't actually go missing, the kind of chubbier one, she has damage, but she's not raped or whatever, which they keep talking about. She's intact. And so there's this kind of, that idea of that goes against sort of the idea of like loss of innocence, you know what I mean? Or I think to a degree, like there's still a kind of maintenance of this innocence, right? In a sense, I mean, in that very surface level. But maybe it's like, oh, these girls weren't ready to go. Maybe they weren't ready to like give up their innocence, and maybe the other two were. But why the other two? Why the girl with the glasses, and why Miranda? And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then also,
but go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
It also ends on a confusing note for me as well, with Sarah's death, or her body is discovered. We don't really know the circumstances of her death, but it's on school grounds. It seems to be in some sort of greenhouse or something like that. And then the headmaster, kind of the final shot of the story, minus the kind of flashback, is of the headmaster in
all black,
a mourning, and she has, what's that, a veil. She has like a veil on, and she just kind of is looking with no emotion as she's told that Sarah's dead. So then I was like, okay, so is it implying that she murdered Sarah?
Wait, you also realized she died too, right?
The headmaster?
Mm-hmm.
She was dead in that shot?
Not in that. Well, didn't you hear the part when at the end there's like a voiceover that's saying, on March 28th, 1900, headmistress, or the principal Appleyard of Appleyard College, was found dead at the bottom of Hanging Rock.
Oh my God, I totally heard.
And they didn't know how she died, but they thought that she died maybe trying to climb the rock.
Okay, I totally missed
that. And so
that.
she was like obviously really depressed. Maybe she killed Sarah, or maybe Sarah killed herself, because when she's discovered in the greenhouse by the guy, he like notices there's broken glass around the area, right? And so he thinks that some kids tried to break in or broke his greenhouse, but then he looks up at the window of the schoolyard and sees some evidence of, I think, somebody having jumped out of the window and landing in his greenhouse.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's like,
So I'm
these
thinking,
kids, these messy
right.
kids.
But I think that shot going back to the actual school, the room on the second story of the school or whatever, implies that something happened where somebody was like jumping from one place to the other. You know what I mean? Or that something hit the ceiling of the greenhouse and came through. And we don't know if Mrs. Appleyard killed her or if somehow their deaths were linked, like that. And also she talks about the other woman, the woman that she considered her confidant who was missing, right? The woman in red.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about how she felt that she was like a disgrace. She's like, how could she allow herself to be whisked away like a silly schoolgirl, raped, and then disappeared? Like, she basically blamed her for not just disappearing, but she was placing blame on her disappearance as like something that she allowed to happen in a way, in a whimsical kind of way, you know what I mean? And like a loss of her, adult self, basically, implying that she had some notion as to what it was that actually captured these women or these girls, like it wasn't just that they had gone missing, but that they somehow chose to go missing, that they somehow embraced some sort of element of adventure or excitement in the experience of being gone. You know what I mean? That there was something enticing that was almost kind of like forbidden and like taking the forbidden fruit, so to speak, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they were engaging in some kind of sinful activity by choice.
Okay.
That's kind of what I think that the headmistress was implying when she was like talking about the other woman.
Yeah. Emily, what was your interpretation of these events?
Well, I think because of the girl who escapes, who's with the original part of the original four, right? Yeah. She was like, I was running back down, and then I said, I saw the woman in the red dress. I'm so terrible with remembering names.
I don't remember her name.
Okay, right.
No, not Appleyard. Appleyard's the head. Go ahead.
And she was like, and she wasn't wearing any pantaloons.
Right. No, I think she was saying that she was only wearing pantaloons.
Oh, only wearing pantaloons.
That she wasn't wearing her skirt.
So she wasn't wearing her skirt, but you could see underneath. So obviously that implies something happened to her in a sexual manner. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you could a very easy interpretation of the entire film is that it's all about female sexuality. Mm-hmm. I mean, I also think though the sort of supernatural quality of the rock. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, what does hanging rock mean? But it's also just sort of this sort of supernatural, this rock, people disappear into the rock. Nobody knows why. Mm-hmm. But by telling a story about an all-girls school, 1900, they're all wearing white. Mm-hmm. The woman who is seen walking up the hill, only wearing her pantaloons, she's the only one wearing red.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if that means anything or not, but
probably.
I'm sure it has some symbolism. I definitely noticed her dress in the beginning.
What about like the fact that there's only one man with them and he's like older and kind of.
Right. There's that too. And the head Mrs. Appleyard says in the very beginning of the film, she says, be careful about Hanging Rock.
There's snakes.
Yeah, things happen at Hanging Rock. And she basically is just saying like, you shouldn't even, from what I recall, I didn't take notes or anything, but she was almost implying you shouldn't go up there. Mm-hmm. But yet they all go up there anyway.
And she's the only one who's not wearing, she's like one of the few people besides the red dress who doesn't wear white. Right. She's like almost always wearing like dark colors except for that one. She's never wearing like the pure white that the rest of them are wearing,
Yeah.
So in this interpretation for either of you really, where does the man who then tries to find them and then kind of gets sucked into it fall as well? Like if this is kind of
Oh, the
about
boy?
the younger guy who then I think a couple days later or whatever tries to go and find them up there. So he also kind of gets sucked into it. So then does that have any bearance on? Because it seems like something similar happens to him that happens to these women as well. Like, is this just about? I don't know. I guess I'm struggling to see it as
Clearly one thing or the other.
Yeah.
yeah, because
Exactly.
I
That's
totally
what I
missed
mean.
all that, and I mean, you guys talking about it makes a lot of sense, but I'm still just like pretty perplexed as to what this rock, if it has a meaning or if it's just kind of like this, supernatural force kind of story, and that's what I thought it was going to be, knowing nothing about the film going into it. It seemed like it was going to be a much more simple mystery kind of thing, and then I just was kind of like for the last half when it seems to be more about like it kind of I feel like it stops being about the mystery halfway through, and then it doesn't really. I don't know, like it feels like that kind of becomes a secondary story to just now like they're back at the school and they're having these conversations that I was having a hard time following.
I personally think it's definitely still about the mystery, and it's giving us little clue. Like it's kind of giving us clues. Okay, I also will say this: I read the book too,
Is the
and I
book more
actually,
clear?
well, okay. I mean, it goes beyond the movie in terms of like the plot line, and it tells you kind of what happened to the girls,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
I
see.
don't want to attach that to this film because it's not like I don't think this film is doing what the book does and that and on intentionally. Like I
Sure,
think
sure.
that the film took some themes that it picked up from the book and it ran with that and
Yeah.
made this movie really I think more aligned with themes than actual plot line. And
Mm-hmm.
the plot line in the book it really changes the meaning I feel like of a lot of the
Yeah.
it's just like it goes in a totally different direction, I'll put it that way, than
Right.
what you would think. And I
Does it
won't say
have
any
more
more.
depth? Like, does the narrative have more depth? No.
I
Okay.
wouldn't say that the like so I mean, I can't okay, that's I wouldn't say yes or no on that. More depth, you know what I mean? Because I think that there is depth, you know what I mean, to be had. I mean, I don't remember the book that well, but I do remember the plot of it pretty well and how it ends up how the ending is in it and it's totally not what you would expect. Like it
Mm.
basically practically changes genres, I'll say that much.
Mm.
So
To
it's
what? Can
like
you say the genre? Horror?
no, it almost becomes like science fiction.
Okay.
Oh.
See, yeah, that's what I was
And
kind of
it's
wondering,
kind of
like,
like
if this
but the
was going to.
movie I don't feel that this movie is that at all. Like I really think that the movie it's I think it's intentionally trying to remain ambiguous and not even like I mean this is totally my interpretation. I mean there's obvious these themes like what you're saying, female sexuality and um kind of I think the inclination to want to explore that which is forbidden and um you know like what
Well,
female
women being in an all women's school, kind of all protected, and like,
hmm
the if they stray from that, it's on them, and
and
something
it's
very
a very
dangerous could happen.
right and that
You know.
it's also probably a commentary to a degree about how women were sort of I think you know forced to be during the times or whatever. But there's
Yeah.
also I think
There's.
there's universal themes that transcend the time. So that's kind of what I think that's what I try to focus on in the sense of it like what is it why did they want to make this movie in 1975, or whenever it was like cuz I don't know I don't necessarily think that the filmmaker wanted this to be a movie just about the time like, women's roles in 1900. You know what I mean? Or the
Yeah.
role of women's sexuality in 1900. I think it
Yeah.
was trying to express something that was like more transcendent and more like universal that was still a thing. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I think that these things are at play, but then I also feel like there's still a lot of mystery to it, and maybe that's the point. Is like maybe it's about the mystery of female sexuality and how it is like this intriguing, like perplexing thing that is like an enigma, but also very uh, alluring and enticing to those who, I guess, choose to engage with it or like try to understand it. You can't understand it, maybe. I don't know. And like the two guys were, they were transfixed, right? Like when they saw the girls, they were like, wow, these were like these objects of sexual desire, right?
Yeah.
And beauty and like
that's a part that
angelic, like they represented an icon of something that was like they had never had and that was like unattainable, but also right there. But then they kept chasing it throughout the movie without ever really being able to grasp it. And maybe that's what it's about, is like that's what female sexuality maybe, or that's what they're saying about female sexuality maybe, is that it's like something that's, I don't know, like somehow, I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, guys. I
think in general, it's some kind of interpretation of a idea of a particular kind of gendered femininity and sexuality of the time, of a particular time period, reinterpreting another time period. But really, I think the main goal of the film was to make something kind of arty and beautiful. I don't really think, I think the part about the story that, they grasped onto was the fact that there was like this rock, and this rock disappeared these girls, and there isn't really any story out there like that,
but
captured from these time periods.
What about like the specific lines that they chose to highlight? Like, now I know. What do you know? I love that. I just love that line. Now I know. What do you know? And then she says that Miranda's one of Botticelli's angels. Like, that part could be there or not for me. Like, I just love that precursor. Now I know. What do you know? And then like everything always happens, or everything always begins and ends at exactly the right time and place. And then there's that other line where she's like, I think it's remarkable how many people seem to serve no purpose in this world, although it's very likely that they do serve some kind of function without knowing it. It's just such a brilliant line. I'm probably not saying it right,
a lot
but
of that
wow.
stuff though happened in the beginning, and I was very intrigued by all that. I also really like that line, and it clearly stands out as like this just weird exchange that you immediately pay attention to, because it seems like they're also saying it slowly too, and I don't know, there's something about it that is makes it grabs your attention. And I also love the imagery that they use at the top of the rock too, with overlaying the birds flying across, and like the one woman who's kind of dancing on she's kind of backlit by the sun and spinning around, and it's really cool. But yeah, then it just kind of it lost my interest as the time went on. I want to say though, Jared Floyd message.
Keep saying that. I'll be right back. My computer's about to die. I just need to get my battery. Sorry.
Okay.
Carry on.
I was just looking up some analyses of Picnic at Hanging Rock because I was really curious now.
Oh yeah, nice. Jared Floyd wrote in and he said, in tarot cards, the Hanged Man means a sacrifice made willingly. Maybe Hanging Rock has a connection to that. I've actually not seen it, but what you're describing is making me think of that. Yeah, I think that's interesting too. Maybe they sacrifice themselves willingly. It doesn't really seem like they're resisting it, that's for sure. Like they're not screaming, they don't seem to be in pain. The only person resisting it is the woman who escapes.
And she's kind of resisting it the entire time.
Yeah, and she's like,
why are we doing this?
Yeah, this rock's giving me a weird feeling. I'm so tired. I want to turn back. Like, she seems to, whereas everyone else is kind of just, let's just keep on going. Like, and then they just kind of walk off without a care in the world. So, I think that there's something there. Yeah, it feels willing. Whether it's the rock that's kind of hypnotizing them into thinking that they should do this or not is kind of, I think, up to interpretation. But
it's also interesting that like the one who doesn't want to do it is the one who's like the least sexualized of all of them, in a way. In the context of the movie, it's like she's the fat one or whatever. You know what I mean? And so it's like she's the least adventurous. She's the least one who wants to explore, I guess. I mean, the implications of sexuality or whatever, because she doesn't take her stockings off. The other ones take off their stockings. A pretty blazing, like, symbolic, gesture. And well, yeah, it's just she's like terrified of sexuality, it seems like, whereas the other ones are like intrigued and fascinated by it. If we're gonna, lay
run with that
run
idea.
with that.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, just adventure in general. You know what I mean? Like, these girls are trying to break through the chains of, like, the times, right? I mean, the gloves being the very first thing. They all want to take their gloves off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the first thing they get to do, and it's, like, actually okayed by the headmistress. But then they take it to the next step where they, like, take their shoes off and they take their stockings off, and it's like, that's, a literal gesture of trying to break out of these kind of, repressive sort of uniforms that they've been forced to endure.
Right.
And it's an adventure for them
to
some degree.
Any final thoughts before? I think we should probably wrap up in the next few minutes, but were there any other things that we haven't touched on in the film that either of you wanted to kind of dig deep into?
I don't know. I just love this movie, and I definitely felt like I got more out of it again watching it this time, just not having seen it in a few years and kind of forgetting some of the plot even. And yeah, I think that if you watched it a second time, you might notice that a lot of the details in the dialogue and they do tell you a lot about the plot. Yeah. And also, wasn't it? I just love the swan thing, like how the swan.
It kept going back to the swan. I forgot about that. There was some symbolism happening with the swan.
Definitely, but sure. Also just like how the swan was like appearing on the kid's bed, on the boy's bed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome, and I just love the surreal aspects of that, and like how it's just, but it's never like, to me, there's so much nuance in this movie, and it's never like in your face or doing too much. I just feel like it's just the right amount of everything. You know what I mean? And it's kind of subtle, but also intense. And I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Emily, before we wrap it up?
I'm very curious to read now some analyses of Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah, we should. We're gonna be back for a second round after we do.
Laura can report back in your stead.
Yeah.
But
it's a beautiful film. I mean, it's definitely worth watching a few times, I think. And it, it's shot on film.
Yeah.
So, it's not digital.
No.
It is
unless you're watching a really bad digital version on YouTube.
Wait, have you seen? Did you know there's a new remake of on Amazon?
Yeah, I knew, and you said it was so bad, Laura, so I never checked it out.
I was upset by it.
I feel like it's all about the vibe. It doesn't really, like, the plot didn't necessarily grab me. The thing that grabbed me more was just the vibe of the film.
The visuals.
Yeah. So, I don't really feel like you can recreate that unless you really get a great auteur behind it who's going to, like, basically create a whole new thing. But at that point, what's the point? Just make a new film at that point. Let's leave it here with Jared's last comment that he just sent us in. Next time you do one of these, I'm going to watch the film so I can give more insights. I listen because I like hearing people talk about art. And that's exactly right. Even if you've watched these films or not, thanks for tuning in, Jared, specifically, but really for anybody watching. It's not necessary that you watch the films, but if you want to, please feel free. And we always announce the films that we're going to watch on Instagram ahead of time. So if you want to, you can. And in fact, we haven't decided on our next film, but the next time we will be doing this is December 6th. And who's our guest again? I think you were setting this one up.
Kramus.
My
buddy Kramus. Yeah.
Wait, are you sure it's
musical
not,
artist?
Are you sure it's not?
Oh,
Chalky?
Unless it's Chalky. Either Chalky or Kramus. I forget who's before the other. Oops.
Someone's gonna be there, and we're gonna watch a new film.
Oh yeah, it's Chalky. Sorry, it's Chalky.
Cool. And
Interesting.
so if you want to know the next film that we're going to watch, follow us on Instagram at Totally Tell Me, Jared, or really anybody. And Emily, where can people find more of you if they would like to hear your music or follow you?
My music is up on all streaming platforms. And my website is emilyjanewhite.net.
Mhm.
And I'm on all social media as Emily Jane White. So
Yeah.
out there in the world in this modern day and age, it's not like Picnic at Hanging Rock anymore. You can't call the landline
Unfortunately.
or send a letter. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, we couldn't do this, but
That's true.
what would it be like to do a podcast with no internet?
We would be in a salon or a parlor somewhere, sitting in a group
Yeah.
with like a quartet or a trio behind us, string trio or quartet, sort of serenading us. And maybe one person would like jump on the harpsichord.
There you go.
Or like, I don't know. And yeah, we'd just be talking, you know, we'd be wearing our,
It'd be like city arts and lectures.
but smaller. Smaller. More
I like
intimate.
their talks. They're good. I used to go to them in person, but now obviously that's not a thing. But I think they still air them in a way that you can listen to them or something on some radio station that I'm forgetting the name of. But with that, thanks again, Emily, for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for being
having
on
me.
here.
It was super fun.
Yeah,
we'd love
thanks
to
for
have you
dressing
again.
up.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Can we see your whole dress? Or can we see
Well,
like
I have to admit that unfortunately in the moving process, I like spilled coffee on it.
Aw,
So
I'm sorry.
oh, and I was like, well, good thing I'll be sitting tonight. But anyway, yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
just,
so
cool.
pretty.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
So,
it looks
Thank
really
you for
nice.
wearing that.
yeah, Laura, we need to see your dress now.
When did you okay. When did you get that? Wait.
Honestly, ooh, I love it.
Thank you.
Nice.
Especially, I like yours is very Picnic at Hanging Rock.
It is, isn't it? Actually, this
Yes.
was one of the like several wedding dresses that I had.
Oh.
I mean, because Anton and I got married like 4 times for different. I think I told you about that.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
We had,
I
like,
mean,
our,
since you asked,
yeah,
I mean,
Dominic,
you know,
please.
I mean,
Okay,
here I am.
Dominic.
I'm just hanging out in my shorts here. You know, we're just doing a thing. It's like, this is a little something that I picked up along the way. I mean, it's no big deal.
You're only wearing your pantaloons.
I'm only wearing my pantaloons.
I think that was the funniest part of the film.
Right.
She was only wearing pantaloons.
Anyways, this has been Totally Tell Me. If you want to see the next episode, again, December 6th, you can follow us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. That's where we go live. And if you can't tune in for the live episodes, we post them later on all sorts of podcast services. Wherever you get podcasts, you'll find us. So with that, again, Emily, thanks for being on. And thanks Laura, for being here. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode of Totally Tell Me. Bye, everybody.
Bye.